Hello, people, and welcome back to the Just Your Football show. And it is time for, well, I don't even know what it's time for. It's a bit of an impromptu video, this. I was on my way back home and I thought, do you know what? I'm gonna reach out to Gaz. I said, are you twiddling your thumbs, mate? Do you fancy jumping on a stream? And he duly obliged. And we're going to have a chat about the current state of play at Leeds United ahead of tomorrow's deadline. And business, or maybe lack of business. There's, I guess, loads of like links, dodgy links, like here and there, and you're like, do we really buy into them? So I just thought we could have a chat about them, guys. But before we do that, how are you, mate? You all right?
I'm very good, mate. Yeah, I'm not bad at all, thank you. Spent most of my weekend decorating. I'm in my son's bedroom. I've been decorating all weekend. So yeah, other than that, mate, yeah, I'm all good.
It looks good, that as well, doesn't it? Do you want to tell us the story behind your signed Cooper shirt there?
Yeah, so me and Judd went to Brighton away this year, the coldest game I've ever been to in my life. It was like watching football on the North Pole. And the game finished, and Judd went down to the front and to clap the players off, and Liam Cooper spotted him and came over and gave him his shirt.
Nice.
So we then managed to get in touch with Coops and get him to sign it, and then got in touch with Ryan Pugh at Safe Hands Framing. Big Leeds fan, and he's framed it for us. So yeah, it's class and a good memento for him to take away.
Definitely. I to be honest, while Cooper's been injured, I've seen him a few times. You know where I sit. I've seen him a few times with Mooney walking past, like before the game and that, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm 33. I can't really go down and say, "You're right, Liam." But it is sort of like, I keep saying to Sean, who I go with now, he's got a little boy as well, and I said, listen, when we bring in little boys, at least we'll have an excuse to say, right, we go down there, get you sent down there, little man.
Well, mate, the funny thing is, like, obviously, we've seen a rise of placards and even people letting the kids go on pitch and stuff. And I said to Judd, like, mate, just go down and clap the lads off. You know, might not have got the result, but tried out for 90 minutes. You know, just go and like kind of be thankful. I said, don't be climbing and out, don't be like frantically waving. I said, if you're lucky enough to get a shirt, then that's great. If you're not, then you know that's not what you're there for. So he was just lucky that he got one. To be fair.
Yeah. Definitely. The kid who got Rafinha's shirt actually sits near me, and he goes in the full Brazil gear and all that sort of stuff. It is class. I said to him before the kickoff, I said, "You'll get it eventually." And he ended up getting it that game, to be fair. So fair play. Right, so let's get into it, guys. In the chat as well. Please do get involved if you are aware of any links, of course, because of what I do. I get sent a lot of like messages and stuff saying, have you seen this? Have you seen this? So I've piled all them up as well. So if you do, if anything happens while we are live, I'm not expecting it to, but if anything does happen, then just keep us in the loop. But before we talk about incomings, Gaz, how worried were you on a scale of like 1 to 10 when you seen that West Ham, and listen, I don't mind West Ham. I have a good friend, Corey, who's a West Ham fan, and he won't want me throwing too much shade at them. But how worried were you when you seen that they were sniffing around Rafinha and Calvin, and the fact they wanted to pay a combined 100 million for them both when they want 100 million for Declan Rice on his own, which I found a bit mad.
Not worried at all, mate. Two out of 10. It's. I mean, if you look at it from a player's perspective, and no disrespect to West Ham, but Rafinha's been linked with some really big clubs. Calvin, as well. You know, potentially if they take that sideways move to West Ham, you know, that holds them back for another year. Whereas, you know, I think if Calvin and Raf are to move on in the next sort of 18 months, probably in the summer now, if at all, they're moving on to bigger things than West Ham, and that's no slant on West Ham. It's all about sort of levels. West Ham are a bit in front of us at the moment, but arguably them two can argue a toss to be the next level up, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree completely as well. And again, that's no shade on West Ham. It's just if they're going to make a move from Leeds United, they're going to make a move where they're guaranteed Champions League football. Because if it falls off at West Ham, and there's a possibility it could, because you know the top four religiously are the top four for a reason. It's so hard to break into that. So if they were to drop off, then you know they'd then want to move on again, wouldn't they, to get that Champions League football? So it don't make sense. And the fees that were being banded about is just crazy.
Well, just before we came on, mate, I've just seen that Conor Gallagher's pretty much going to seal a permanent move from Chelsea to Palace, probably in the summer, 45 million. So you're telling me then that Calvin's, 5 million more than Conor Gallagher, nailed on England's international, finalist at Euros. It just doesn't add up now.
Yeah, like Conor Gallagher is amazing and a great talent, and 45 million probably right with the length of career he's got ahead of him. But you're right, 5 million more for an established English international. It's just crazy talk, innit? It is crazy talk. Right, we've got loads like mentioning stuff in the chat. Let's start with this one because this is a bit of a confirmed one. Obviously, Jalinto 12, not about the Rafa. He says he don't think Rafa will leave now Liverpool because they got Luis Diaz, and that's been confirmed today. As a Leeds fan, knowing that we were linked with Minamino, this now makes me think, well, surely there's a deal there to be done because that puts Minamino even further down the pecking order. What are your thoughts on the Minamino one, mate?
Well, first of all, if we're going to go by the sort of storyline that's coming out of the club via our trusted journalists, Phil, Graham and Popey, we don't trust anybody else. It's sort of this one in, one out. So if Crescencio Somerville seals the move out, which it's been rumoured he wants, then we'd take Minamino in. So if we look at it on basis of the player, Minamino, I think I tallied it up, has played something like 40% of his games in the last 3 years in the 10 position. When he played at Salzburg, he largely played it in the 10, knocking up to a certain Alfie Haaland. Not Alfie, other one. Anyway, knocking up to him, that average player. So, and you look at it and you think, so he can provide cover for Raf. He can push that 10 position, which has been a bit troublesome for us this year. I don't think Rodrigo or Tyler Roberts has managed to nail that down. So, you kind of look at that and you think, and he's also played at number 9 as well. So he can play anywhere across that front line, which Bielsa likes. He likes that player that can play many positions. So it seems to make sense. Will we get it? Will it? I'm not sure. I go in sort of peaks and troughs with it. You look at Liverpool signing Diaz today and you think, well, that frees him up to come out. Yeah, it does. Does that necessarily mean he's freed up to come to Leeds? I'm not so sure. However, that I think if there's a deal that's going to happen tomorrow, that'll be the one. I think that might happen.
I had a phone call with my mate yesterday, jokingly, right? But we were saying there's a little party who wants to go, Somerville, push through. I'm sorry, right? But I'm like, push through the move because we'll get someone in who's an improvement. Look, I've not seen enough of Somerville in the 23s, but this further as well, guys, it's a little bit frustrating because when Bielsa speaks about improving the squad, he's clearly only speaking about the first 11 because all these other players that we're linked to are improvements on the squad depth. So Minamino is an improvement of. If you look at the bench against Newcastle, he's an improvement on nearly all of them, right? Maybe not Gelhardt, but he's improvement on the rest in terms of thing, for me anyway. So it further proves that Bielsa is only on about improving the first team. So therefore, and it's frustrating, I can't lie, because when this player's there available, I'm like, right, okay, well, Minamino is an improvement. But then me and my pal, we were just saying it in jest, but is there a little part here that thinks, well, Somerville move, kick up a fuss, make the move, and then we can bring in someone who's actually better? And I hate to say it because Somerville's a Leeds player, but there's a little part of me thinks,
Well, mate, let's take his Leeds bias stats off for a minute. We've seen Crescencio Somerville rip it up for the 23s. Looks, just probably shy of Joffrey in there, as in one of the better players, if you like. But we've not really seen that transfer over now. If we go back, it's a different time and it's a different level of football. But if we go back and see the breakthrough that Jack Clark had, Jack Clark came on and did exactly what he used to do for the 23s: drive at people, cause them a fuss. He were positive. Not really seen that from Somerville. Now, to give him some benefit of the doubt, he has come into games where we're looking to him to try and change it. But I just get the feel from watching Somerville in the first team that it's all been a bit safe. It's all been a bit don't lose the ball, which is a large bit, but we want him to give us a spark. We want him to bring something into the game, and I don't think he's done it. I mean, he's 22, Somerville. I can understand why he wants to go out and play games. I get that, and you know, I can understand that. I think that it will upset Bielsa that Cody Drama I've just watched playing for Cardiff, and he weren't excellent. And Somerville have, you know, seen the squad depth as it is. But then again, you look at it, them two have no loyalty to Leeds United. They're not Leeds United fans. They have no loyalty to Bielsa. You know, young footballers nowadays are pretty headstrong, and you know, they'll be getting advised off various other people saying, yeah, you're going to play for Bielsa and he'll develop you. But first team football will develop you. Get yourself off to Cardiff, get yourself off to Wolfsburg, where he's been linked to for Somerville. So, you know, all in all, I have to agree, Joe, and I put it on Twitter the other day, and I said, I might get shouted down, and I did get shouted down. But I think that Minamino is an upgrade on Somerville. Just in terms of, not saying that Somerville's not going to be an excellent player. He obviously is. He's got talent. But at this moment in time, Minamino's an upgrade, and I don't think you can look past that, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the only thing that I think with the Liverpool side of it is they're notoriously quite difficult to do deals with in terms of, especially when it comes to loans. Like, I know they put a lot of clauses in there that say if you don't play, you're paying X amount. If he plays, you might pay less than that. And I just see that as being especially this late in the window, as a very difficult deal to do on that front. And I don't know if Bielsa, or maybe, Bielsa would go for it in terms of being, this is the stumbling block for me. If Liverpool say, well, he's got to play, otherwise you're paying X amount, Bielsa's not going to have that. Do you know what I mean? Which,
mate, well, I can't see any reason why it won't be a permanent deal. They paid $7.5 million for him from Salzburg. There's no place for him to go back to because Diaz has took his spot essentially. So, you know, $7.5 million. He's done well at Liverpool. He's done well at Southampton. If Liverpool look to recoup the money, that's still 15 million. We were going to spunk 22 on Aronson in this window. So there's money there. Yeah. You know, if Leeds and I don't think Bielsa and the club would bring anybody in who they don't see as somebody who Bielsa can work with. I mean, I don't know how old Minamino is. Is he like 24, 25? Well, I'm not sure.
I'll tell you, man. I'll tell you by the magic of the Tinterweb, mate. He is 27.
All right, so he's a little bit of the older.
Yeah, he's older.
But mate, you look at it and you go, if you sign him on a permanent, and then we do go and get Aronson in the summer, which has obviously been mentioned a lot, but nothing's ever nailed on, then Minamino becomes cover for Raf. And as we've discovered this year, you need strength in depth. And also as well, you know, we might be up against it a little bit in summer to keep hold of Raf, new deal or not. So
yeah, I think, rough, summer for me, bro. It's summer. That's going to be one summer of just batting off bids and all that sort of stuff. That's going to be tough. But yeah, I think summer's a big one. I will just give you a little something, though, if anyone who is watching. I am quite deep into FM, and Calvin Phillips has just had his testimonial at Leeds. So if that's anything to go by, he'll stay.
That's happening, man. That's definitely happening, man.
Brilliant. Yeah, so there is the minute, and then we hear this one, guys. So obviously, maybe moving on slightly from Minamino. Apparently, this was reported by Mike McGrath that Leeds United had inquired about Chelsea forward Kennedy, similar profile to Minamino. He spent time at Newcastle, I believe, as well, and was on loan at Flamengo in Brazil. But the Mike guy did say it has not progressed. Like nothing's changed on that front. Do you think maybe Leeds United are just putting the feelers out for potentials if Somerville does come through? What do you make to the Kennedy one?
I think there's probably a little bit of that, but I also think January and summer you get a lot of agent conjecture who might want to move their clients on. Kennedy's obviously come back from Flamengo because of an injury crisis at Chelsea. That injury crisis is then cleared up. I would imagine his agent's trying to get him back out playing football again. You know, in a World Cup year where I don't think he's anywhere near the Brazil setup, but still he'll have aspirations to try and get himself involved. So I think that there might be an element of Leeds sort of shopping around and keeping options open in case Somerville does move on. But I also think that you play a dangerous game in January of believing everything you read because agents want to move players or it's all part of a bigger domino of this player moves here, so this player's got to move here or whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. One thing he did touch on, though, and this is sort of news to us, although I think a lot of us would agree with it. He said that they are in the market for a number 2 goalkeeper still. And I can't lie, without seeing enough of Christopher Claesen, it's music to my ears, because if the worst, can you imagine? Just put yourself in a scenario where Meslier gets injured. I know he was at fault the other day against Newcastle, and I've seen some crazy comments about him, not just after the weekend, but there's some that really are sold on him. But if you take him out of our side, we probably are in the bottom three. He's been that important for me this season. So I think it's good news that they're in the market for a number two, because whenever or whatever I've heard from Claesen and seen the Clangers, it's not, don't make for good watching, does it, mate?
No, it doesn't. And from Classen's point of view as well, he's obviously having a bit of a struggle at the moment adapting. And then if you imagine chucking him in at the Premier League and saying, there you go, son, sort that out, it's probably not fair on him either. So, yeah, it makes sense to get a number two in. I think I read somewhere that a number two, an experienced goalkeeper from the Premier League. So I did a bit of looking before I came on, and I nailed it down to two names. I nailed it down to Marcus Bettinelli at Chelsea or Willie Caballero at Southampton.
Okay.
We are, believe it or not, we are the only Premier League side with only two senior goalkeepers. Everybody else has got 3 or 4. So there you go.
Well,
but yeah, I could see that one happening, to be honest. And the Caballero one again. Caballero went into Southampton to again stave off an injury crisis, COVID stuff, and I don't think they'll be in any great shakes to keep hold of him. Argentinian, got a lot of experience at the top of the game. It'd be good for Claesen and Meslier to work with, I'd imagine. And he's a bit mad as well, so that's good.
Yeah, definitely. Desert 2 near saying Kennedy was good for half a season at Newcastle, then flopped the following year. Again, I just don't know. I mean, this one came out as well, right? This is from the guy Reluctant Nico. I questioned a tweet once and I'm blocked. I think
I'm blocked as well.
Yeah, with this guy, like, if you question anything, you get blocked. I've never gone out and abused the guy. It's not something I do on Twitter. But yeah, I think even if you were to say this is wrong, you automatically get blocked. But they're saying that Leeds may try and trigger Lewis O'Brien's 10 million release clause before the window closes. What do you reckon, mate?
Nah, not having that one.
No?
Leeds saw 7.5 million as overpriced, so I can't see him going back and paying 10. I'll be really honest. I again, and the thing is as well, Huddersfield are flying, for want of a better word. They're right up and amongst it, so they'll be reluctant to see him leave. So again, I feel with this one, it's probably just a bit of somebody needing clicks on an article because they're putting 2 and 2 together that Leeds are in market for a central midfielder. They've tried for them before, and it didn't come off, and we're sort of back to it now. So no, I really can't see that happening. Especially now we were in for him when we didn't have Adam Forshaw. Now we've got Adam Forshaw back. Yeah. I'm not saying it's less of a position to need looking at, but maybe not right now.
Would you? I like him though. From whenever I've seen Lewis O'Brien, I think he would fit. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He does look a decent player for sure. If I were to ask you now, Gaz, do you expect anything to happen tomorrow?
I think what Leeds are really good at, and it's mega frustrating for people like us, is that they keep the cards close to the chest, they temper expectations. So straight from the get-go, you've seen, we're not going to do any business coming out from journalists. You've seen Angus Kinnear's programme notes saying about how the youth are a better investment at this time of year, all that type of stuff. But we've kind of seen all this before, and as frustrating as it is, we've seen it all before. I think there will be some business tomorrow. I don't think it'll be on a massive scale. I don't think there'll be anything really that'll jump out there and sort of make you, sit up and take notice. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a goalkeeper come in. I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see Crescencio Somerville go out the other way and a replacement for him come in. And I wouldn't be surprised as well if that replacement is not Minamino and it's some random name that's not been linked, who we just go and do, because that's kind of what we do from time to time, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Are you disappointed, guys? Because I do. Obviously, being in the position that we are, and I'm not ITK, I don't mean it like that, but being a content creator, I get a lot of messages, and I get a lot of people asking me, do you expect us to do? And from January the 3rd, I get people going, "Why aren't we making moves?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm like you guys. I'm like, calm down, man. We've got ages yet. Yeah, but what about Villa? What about Newcastle? I'm like, they're in totally different situations than us." But I said we will do something. We will do something. However, now I look at it and think I'm a little bit like I honestly don't know anymore, and I think I am disappointed by that, mate. I am, and I'm a positive guy, but it does disappoint me a little bit. And I've seen people say, "Oh, this club is going to put us in a relegate." I don't believe that, and I don't go along with that hypothesis because I think we'll be fine. I think it'll cause more disruption next summer when we have to have more players come in because it'll be due an even bigger overhaul for me. So it makes sense to start blooding some now, even if it's one or two. They're still in a better position for the summer, and then you can bring in some more. But I am disappointed. Look at this, Danny. Danny said, "Joe, you're more positive than my COVID test." That's a good one. But yeah, I'm disappointed at the guys.
Yeah, I think the disappointing thing is that as fans in the summer, we were saying, I don't feel like we've got quite enough. Yeah, we brought Firpo in, which were a position that we needed to address, but then I still didn't feel like we quite had enough in the sort of middle of the park. And ultimately, with the injuries we've had this year, that's proven to be true. I agree with you, mate. To be honest, I think that much more about not just this year, but incrementally building the squad and incrementally improving it. And I had a little rant on Talking Short on Wednesday. I think I was a bit tired, and I think as much as we don't like it, some of these players who've kind of been the old guard, for us to evolve and develop, we're gonna have to start improving them, or at least giving them competition. Like if you even dare to mention competition for Bamford or competition for Calvin, now you get shouted down. But ultimately, that's what football is about. It's about evolving. It's about improving. And the only way players improve is when they're being pushed from within. And at the moment, if we're being really honest, Calvin is not being pushed. There's nobody who can play that role like Calvin. Robin Koch's doing a good deputy, but we're not having a discussion in March saying, should Calvin come back in or should Koch stay in? Calvin's coming back in. Patrick Bamford, it's proven that he hasn't got a deputy. I know everybody will say Joffrey and stuff, but Joffrey isn't like Patrick in the way he plays. He's a completely different beast in the way he plays. Dan James has proven he is. Rodrigo and Tyler Roberts have both been had a little, fleeting glance at number 9, and it's not worked. So for me, I was more disappointed in the summer, and the window closed in the summer, and I kind of thought, we're going to make this harder than we need to do. And I think ultimately, if we did no business tomorrow, I'll be disappointed because not just is it about bringing players in, it's also about freshening the squad up a little bit and bringing a new face in, and just changing it up a little bit. Get a couple of players on the toes who might be just thinking, I'm set here, I'm playing every week, and get someone in to push him a little bit. Let's be honest. Raf. We talk about Raf. He's been outstanding, but there's been games when he's not been particularly outstanding. Yeah. But again, there's nobody to push him. Somerville weren't pushing him. Yeah, he was there in name, but he weren't pushing him. If he's got a Minamino as an example, chomping at the bit behind him, a legit international Premier League winner, I know, albeit a small part of it, but Premier League winner, played in Champions League, he's got a good pedigree, then it makes people sit up and take note. And I think, ultimately, if we don't do any business, I still do think we'll be okay, but I think we'll make it harder than we need to, if that makes sense.
I agree with you, mate, I do.
And I think the other thing as well, mate, is that all the way through this window, it's been Leeds want 2 players in, Leeds want 2 players in, Leeds want 2 players in. Just because it's not Aronson, I don't think that'll change the club's mindset. They're acknowledging that they need players in at the very beginning of the window before a name even come out. So, of course, I think they'll be shopping around. And mate, if it slams shut tomorrow, I'll think 17 games that are going to be a bit more difficult than they need to be, just because we need reinforcements. You touched on it. Melia goes out. Klaassen maybe not just quite ready for it just yet. We still, at times, we talked about in Talking Short, I thought against Newcastle, we kind of went back to the Championship days where we played it in front of them, got into good areas, and there's nobody on the end of it. We just need something, just a bit of creativeness. I think it spread through the players as well. I think confidence has been a little bit low as well at times. So I think that getting a body in tomorrow, a suitable body, a body that Bielsa wants and that carries the correct pedigree, it'll be good it'll lift the fans, it'll lift the players. And it just gives us another option. It just gives us another option.
I think, I'm not saying this is like championship manager or whatever, but I think the impact of a new signing, it can't be understated. Even being at Ellen Road for that Manchester United game, if we've got someone new warming up on the bench and he comes on, it can lift. It can lift, and I don't think that can be understated. And I think the club, look, I think you're the same. I think we'll be all right, but I do think, we've got 2 tough games coming up. Obviously, Lampard's new reinvigorated Everton, possibly. I wish I was going to that game, mate, just for him alone. But yeah, what I don't want is going into that and the rhetoric will be, we've not done any business, we lose to Everton, Villa's tough, and then, I don't even want to think about it, but what I'm talking about. But NJ1 makes a good point. He says, look, I think it's hard when your manager signs 1 year deals. That must make signings hard for the team and players coming in. Do you think, because I've seen someone make a comment as well earlier on, said when Bielsa leaves, Victor Orta should do a book about the amount of players he offered to Bielsa and who they were and how many he turned down. Do you think there is a case of that during the window that Bielsa may have turned some down?
100%. Yeah. 150%. I would not be surprised if Marcelo turned around at the beginning of this window and said he didn't want anybody. Because it's a system. It's a system to him. It's, he sees attributes in players where, if you lose Stuart Dallas, Lewis Bate comes in. If you lose Jack Harrison, then obviously Dan James fills in. But it won't be, but McKinstry's got similar attributes. He sees the game a lot different to us. So, well, obviously, because he's, he is what he is. But I have absolutely no doubt that Marcelo will have turned around to the club when they have the meeting before and gone, no, I'm happy with what I've got. Absolutely no doubt he will have done, because we've seen his approach to COVID and putting Archie Gray on bench, who's a 15-year-old, just gets on with it, and that's instead of making excuses and problems, just gets on with it. Do I think that's right? Maybe not. Just going back to what NG1 is it? Sorry,
NG, yeah.
I think the thing is, with or without Bielsa, this is now the club's philosophy. So I actually think it's easier to sell it to the club. What might be more easy to sell it to a player, what might be more difficult is when we do lose Bielsa eventually, because we will, is he's the draw in himself as well, in the way that he's developed players and players who link themselves to him. Will the next guy have that same draw? I don't know, but I think that Leeds will stick with the philosophy, even if it's Bielsa or not. They will stick with the style of play. The next manager, whoever which board's in charge at the time choose, will be from the Bielsa lineage, if that makes sense. They'll have similar thought processes and they'll certainly approach the game in the same way.
I agree.
I think it's a bit easier to sell it to a player like that, but Bielsa is still in himself a massive draw. So, maybe it does have an element to it as well, but who's to know?
Do you think the way that Leeds United have gone about this window, it makes you think that Bielsa's staying another season? It does me, guys.
Mate, I've always said throughout the season to anybody who will listen that I genuinely feel, and I'm not prepared for this at all, that this might be Bielsa's last year at Leeds, and purely for one reason and one reason.
You don't mean season? Do you mean season or 2022? Do you think
season? I in the
summer?
I got the feeling that Marcelo will take it to heart, the fact that players are leaving. And kind of forcing the way out in drama and Somerville, and I also think he'll take it to heart that we've struggled a little bit this year. And I've got one thing that sticks in my head. I read the book by Kieran Holland, I think it were, the Madness of Marcelo Bielsa or something like that. I can't remember exactly the title of the book is. And he talks in his book. The author talks about Marcelo in his book. And when he first started out at one of the clubs he was at, I can't remember which one it were. He turned around and said, "I only ever stay at clubs for a short period of time because eventually my not my tactics, but my way of approaching the game wears off on players, and they stop believing in it." And I've always got that ringing in the back of my head, and I don't agree with him, but he will take it personally the way that we've kind of struggled this year and where, injuries and stuff like that. I think he takes it a bit more personal than we probably give him credit for. But look, I think. For me, I'd want him to stay, but for him to stay and for us to continue to evolve, the board and him need to be furnished with better players, because that's the only way to go now. But I do think that it could be his last season at Leeds, which I'd be devastated about. But
I did go along with that, and I've been saying that for a while. But I think with the way we've gone about this window, the Aronson deal and stuff, it still feels like I just feel that if it was in his mindset, surely they'd have had to have that conversation to say, look, Marcelo, you're going to have to let us bring in these players, because at the end of the season, you're gone anyway. So therefore, there needs to be something in place for this new guy. And that's what's made me think he's staying, and maybe he wouldn't be happy with leaving it like this season looks like it's going to end, because it's going to be tough. And, come game 38, we'll all wipe our brow and be like, oh, thank God that's over. Big shout out Ben on Twitter, Varney's hairline. When I said about us doing
a bit
this,
like mine, that.
He's responded when I said it. We're talking about the state of play, and he went, "Is it just you two having a nap then?" I was just saying, half an hour of me and you just asleep would be quite good content, to be fair. Light bouncing off the foreheads and that. Right. Okay. So we've got. Let's have a look, John. Oh, yeah, I just wanted to pick up on this. He said, John said, how can you say we're safe? I get this a lot. I get a lot in the comments as well. I do just think we'll be all right, mate. I think, Norwich and Watford will go down, and I think people get to, and this is just my opinion, so you can easy throw it back at me and say, well, you're, the opposite to that. But I just think, Norwich get a decent result against Watford, and they're starting this rich vein of form, and then it's all, we're used to it. I remember it was the same last season, guys, when we were top half at table. People were saying that Fulham were going to catch us. Do you know what I mean? So I
think the thing is, we're naturally a pessimistic bunch because we've been tainted before, haven't we? But I think if you look at it, I think the thing that makes me think that we'll be okay, not saying we're safe now, we could easily get dragged back into it, but some of the performances recently have been back to looking a bit more like it were. I mean, Newcastle, we've ended up getting sucker punched at Newcastle, but they're not in the game until the point where they score. We've got a saying on Talking Show: Leeds didn't get beat by Newcastle. Leeds beat themselves by not scoring and then individual errors. And I think I went down to West Ham and the performance was fantastic. So that shows that the performance and beating West Ham isn't the hallmarks of a team who are destined for the drop. Teams who look like you could just stick a pin in them, sort of your Watfords and even Norwich. I know they have a bit of a resurgence every now and again, but then they disappear again. But they do look like teams who are doomed. They can't find a goal. They can't stop goals going in. Whereas we're not quite that bad, if that makes sense. So we're not safe yet, but we're in a decent position. No matter what happens in the January transfer window, I think that Watford, Burnley, and Norwich are still in banging trouble. To be honest, I don't think they can make wholesale changes enough to turn them around. I think they're my three. They're my three to go down. To be honest, I think Newcastle will flirt with it, and then I think they'll get away with it.
Done some good business, haven't they, Newcastle? To be fair.
I don't know, mate. I still stick by that. There's bigger problems at Newcastle than just signing players. I don't know. Dan Burn, a real upgrade as a centre half.
Yeah, I mean he's a Geordie as well. I think, isn't he? I think they paid like
great
13 million,
and he's an upgrade on Lascelles, who looks awful. But Guimaraes, is it they've signed from?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, from Lyon.
Obviously, it comes with a big thing, but again, it's not just. Kai Havertz is a prime example. I did a podcast when Kai Havertz scored Shoot the Defence. I did their podcast, and when he signed for Chelsea, and I was asked about him, and I said, well, it's how he adapts to the English game, and same for Werner. And truth be told, I've adapted to the English game and found it hard. So all right, Guimaraes 40 million comes with a big thing, but is that going to work straight away? Is he going to adapt straight away?
It's all different when you're down fighting for your lives as well,
exactly, isn't it? And I'm not being funny. Yeah, there's more elements than just get the player in. It's all the other stuff that goes with it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on shirt. I think it's shirt. We had our chances. We've blown it. We're going down. I don't know what you mean by that. Like, explain to me what you mean by the chances. But he also makes this point of saying, and I've seen some people agree with it, that Bielsa lost the Newcastle game. I don't agree with that, and the reason that I do agree that he could have changed it at halftime. But what I'm saying is, for me, but then again, you could easily label that the players on the pitch, but in that first half, we peppered Newcastle. It might not have translated to it on TV or whatever, but you know, Gaz, you're in my corner. The amount of time that Rafinha got down to that right-hand byline and come back, and there was no one there. And I just think Bamford starts that game. You know, we're out of sight at half time, I think. But there you go. I don't think Bielsa. I mean, Bielsa picks the team. I guess I don't know. Maybe he did lose us that game. We beat ourselves for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know what you mean by saying we've had our chance. We've lost it. I just want to pick up this Chris Kelly from All Leeds TV. Big shout out. Chris said the last couple of windows look like the 49ers takeover. He's closer than we think. Fully expect them to take over. I do agree with this as well, and because what I found is we keep getting linked to star Americans, i.e. we were linked to Weston McKennie, we were linked to Brendan Aronson, we were linked to that Daryl DK as well, if I remember before, and there's a little part of me thinks, are the club looking to bring in an American player for that, you know, commercial side of it over in the States? It looks like that seems to be the case, eh?
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I think we'll see a change in ownership, majority ownership this year for sure. I think Radrizzani's made no secret of the fact that he said he can't bankroll us forever and he can't push us on to the next level, and I think that's true, to be honest. And yeah, everything starts pointing towards. I think the interesting bit was his reaction to the Athletic article when they kind of exclusively broke the sort of figures and stuff around it, and how he reacted to that, which was obviously quite upset about it being in the common knowledge arena, if you like. So yeah, I think that'll happen as well. I agree with Chris. I think everything, like, you know, as Leeds fans now, we've been around. I mean, I was on the trust board when Cellino sold to Radrizzani the 50%. Obviously, we've seen Bates sell to the to GFH. They all have a similar feeling around that time where, you know, it just starts feeling like that's what's going to happen. And I think I'd agree with Chris. I think that they'll change majority ownership in the summer.
And is that a good? You see, I was talking to my friend about this. We don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing, really, though, do we? Like,
no, mate.
You know, the Americans, for me, notoriously in the Premier League, they don't do very well, right? Like,
yeah, I think the interesting bit in it for me, anyway, and it's only my opinion, is that we've got to remember that it's not the San Francisco 49ers that are buying us. It's San Francisco Enterprises. It's their sort of business arm, for want of a better word. But the one thing I'm clinging onto there is Mr. Lowy. I was obviously a Leeds fan, lifelong Leeds fan, owner of the Westfield business. So and I think that he will have a big part to play in making sure that the Americans don't get any wild ideas, like calling us the you know, West Yorkshire Whites and we play at the Rose Bowl or some shit. So I think the fact that he was at West Ham as well, he was at the West Ham game. Right. I think that tells you everything that you need to know. He also needs to sort out free parking for Leeds fans in the Westfield shopping centre. That'd be a starter as well, if he could sort that out. So yeah, I agree with Chris. I think it'll get done.
Yeah.
Good or bad, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Exactly.
Everybody kind of thinks they'll come in, splash loads of cash. I'm sure they'll have some wild ideas that'll rile the fans. I'm sure they'll get some things right and some things wrong. We'll have to just wait and see.
I'm fully on board with it though, mate. It's my birthday soon, and I've not allowed it yet, but I tried it on for size. I don't know if you can see it, but I went full on American.
What is that, mate? I could never pull that off me.
Oh man, I can't show. Yeah, I tried it on anyway, but that came in the post. That's for my birthday. I seen it and I was like, I'm having some of that. Nice. So I'm there with them, man. I'm there with them. We're going to see the Leeds United play. But yeah, look, really enjoyed that, mate. There's over 400 people watching or have watched us, so wow. So thank you very much for joining the stream. I wish I had more transfer news to give you, But as it stands, it's very, very quiet at the minute. But like I said, tomorrow I'll be working and whatnot through the day. But if anything has happened, then I will jump on in the evening. And if Gaz is about, I'll get him to do that as well. You've seen a lot more of Gaz on the channel as well, hopefully over the coming weeks. So that's good. Yeah, it's been a bit naff without any football, mate, and it, to be fair. But we get to look forward to Everton, and Fat Frank has been our next game.
Yesterday, I took in Barnsley against Bournemouth. Oh my God, it was horrendous. It was really bad.
Did you go to the game?
No, I didn't go. No, I took it in elsewhere. But yeah, it weren't a great spectacle of sport, put it that way. So yeah. And then today I've took in Derby, Birmingham, and Forest, Cardiff, which were two all right games, to be honest. But standard of officiating and standard of actual football,
it's just horrible, isn't it?
It's horrendous.
Yeah, it's horrible. So I see people say, "I want to be back down in the chip." No, you don't. Not really.
Keep it.
Don't. Not really. Because even when you get beat in the Premier League, sometimes you can accept it a little bit. I remember you were speaking on the on Talking Shut about how Kieran Trippier looked over, didn't he, and started laughing when he was getting called the greedy, whatever. And it's them little moments. Like, I know, obviously, we shouldn't be getting beat by Newcastle, but I remember Liverpool, mate, we were saying to Trent, exact same corner, you just a Kyle Walker, and he bent in a ball, they scored, and he just turned around and laughed at us like that. And I thought, okay, you can have that. Like, it's not like Steve Morrison winding us all up for Millwall, and you're like, that's Steve Morrison for... You know what I mean? So that's the difference for me.
That game anniversary was recently, that Millwall game you're talking about, when Steve Morrison was chorusing the crowd. When they beat us 4-3. Tom Elliott scored in the last minute, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that game, I watched it on the gantry at Ellen Road. Binky from our podcast had won a prize, and we watched it on the gantry. And in the game, it was one games of like mentalness. So David Livermore gets sent off for Millwall for trying to fight with Christensen. He gets sent into the crowd, but he's going to hit it, so he ends up on the gantry with us, basically, ranting and raving. And then obviously they win it in the last sort of seconds. Tom Elliott, Leeds-born lad. And then when we finished, somebody at Leeds said, you can go down and watch Thomas Christensen's post-match if you want. He does it on the pitch. So we went down to the pitch, and Samu Saiz were banned in that game, if you remember, from spitting, I think. He was banned, and... I can't remember if Alioski weren't playing for whatever reason, but anyway, went down and took my son, and he was like, 7 at the time, something like that. And Samu Saiz's son and some other kids were playing on the pitch with a ball. I was like, give me a program, get on there and come play on Ellen Road. So like literally, I've got a video on my phone of Judd playing football on Ellen Road with some kids. We never knew, but it was quite a funny one. While I was getting pelters off the Millwall fans behind us, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant, man. That's class. Guys, make sure you check out Gaz over at Talking Shut over on their YouTube channel if you haven't already as well. Hit over 1K just recently, so make sure you show them some love. Smash a like on this video as well. And as I say, get your notification bell on, because I will go live throughout the day if anything does happen. But if I'm honest, I'm expecting a quiet one. But my man Chris said he reckons he's got some sources, and we may go back in for Minamino, but Gaz did say that's probably the most likely one in his opinion as well. So we'll have to watch this space. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Subscribe. Check out Jazz. I've said that the wrong way around, but yeah, it's getting late. It's Sunday. Peace out, people.